Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice and making informed choices about your retirement plan. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, hello, St. Louis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement. You're live and local, St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Jeff Lapidus, president of JBL Financial Services. Our offices are located in beautiful, still chilly this morning, downtown Olivet, Missouri. I am a 40-plus year veteran of the financial services area, a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager. And I'm usually joined by my very favorite crew, my oldest prodigal daughter, Aaron Lapidus, who's a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager, and Robert Markham, her newly minted spouse, who's also our life insurance and fixed annuity sales specialist. But they're taking the day off today. We help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step strategy, a real game plan that has several goals in mind. First is to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate. Second is to deliver a reliable stream of income, one that they can count on, so they can do all the things they'd like to do during retirement. And third is cost-effectively helping them plan for their health care needs, like choosing the right Medicare supplement, as well as making Social Security claiming strategies. And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, whoever it might be, with Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Aaron and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us the retirement coaches. Well, folks, a happy, and I hope you had a fun and not too filling holiday weekend. I'm here solo today, so you know what to do. Pick up the phone line. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Love to hear from you. And just as a reminder, all of our clients are folks like you. They're our listeners. They're 55 and older. They would like to retire, or they're already retired. And what Aaron and I do is create a game plan for them so that they have, hopefully, a very fun, financially successful retirement. So, again, our phone lines are open. I'd love to hear from you today. I always have a lot of things on my mind. What's more important is get out of that turkey comatose and tell me what's on yours. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. There are lots of ways that you can keep in touch with Aaron and I during the week if you'd like to. You can certainly go to our website, jblfinancial.com. Click on the Contact Us section. Send us a note. Ask a question. Or if you'd like, schedule a coaching session for either Medicare or retirement planning or both. Love to hear from you, and our staff will get back to you and arrange that time. We'd love to do that. Also, what you can do is you can subscribe to our monthly newsletter. We call it the Coach's Corner. Easy to do. Just go to the bottom left of our website, click on the Coach's Corner newsletter icon, and you provide us with information, including your name, email address, etc., and we're happy to send that out to you every single month by email. And in case your computer's broke, man, I hate that. You can always give our office a call, 314-863-0008. We do have a few copies, so we're happy to send it out to you by snail mail. But we'll follow up with you, and hopefully what we'll do is get you going electronically once you're up and running. As a reminder, this is the last week of our November Coach's Corner newsletter. We always have 4 interesting articles, those that we feel are generally multi-generational, You can share them with your friends. You can share them with your kids, with your parents, etc. We think everybody would get something out of them. First article was an uneven jobs recovery. And we know that since the pandemic, where we had 22 million jobs lost, most of those have come back, but they've come back a little differently than the ones that were lost. We do have a lot of folks working from home. We've seen the biggest gains in professional and business services, obviously including many remote workers, in transportation and warehousing, while the biggest losses were in leisure, hospitality, and government. And we know that because every single restaurant you go to says they got a help wanted sign up there. And man, they need the help, because there's some restaurants I can't go back to anymore because the service is so poor. Our second article is HSA pairings with high deductible health insurance plans. And this is something that you should be dealing with right now, especially if your open enrollment is January 1st for your company-sponsored healthcare plan. Based on how you're using your plan, HSA really provides a lot of different options for you. Not only the ability to put away money on a tax-deferred basis, get reimbursed on a pre-tax basis. But also, if you're not using the plan so much, having a high deductible isn't a bad idea. And we've got a nice graphic in there as well as a discussion about that for you. Article 3 is New Life for Your Old Life Insurance Policy. And this is something that we're really focusing on, and we do with every single folks that come to visit with us. As our clients are all generally, they're our listeners, of course, they're in their over 55. They've had life insurance policies for a long time. The question is, how do we repurpose them in such a way to meet our current needs? We know that when you were younger, life insurance created an opportunity to create capital to replace income that might be lost if the breadwinner or breadwinners happen to pass away. But what do you do afterwards? You've got some term insurance. Should we be converting it, keeping it permanently? What are some other needs that we have from an estate planning point of view that we might be able to use these contracts for, maybe even for inheritance purposes? We also have a short discussion here about how to exchange old contracts for new ones. Not really the preferred thing to do, but there are certain circumstances that can be done, and the tax code does permit some tax-free transfers if done correctly, and we have a little discussion about that. And our last article is about clean vehicle tax credits, which I know the kids love to talk about because they're into EV. I like hybrids, but that's me. Again, we call it the Coach's Corner. Easy to access. Go to our website, jblfinancial.com. Click on the Coach's Corner newsletter icon, either at the bottom left or, frankly, one that you find on every single page as you're going through our website. We'd love to hear from you. And we do keep the last 6 to 12 months of those archived for your printing, viewing, or downloading convenience. Again, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. And, it's kind of fun this morning, folks, because Aaron's not here. I got to take my old seat back. Woo-hoo! Back in the captain's chair. It's wonderful. And I'm not real great on text because, they come in. It's almost like Hebrew. They come in upside down, and I've got to read them up. But I'd love to hear from you again, 84126 on our text line or 314-931-5877. Talk to me the old-fashioned way. Well, it was a fun holiday weekend, and as far as I'm concerned, Thanksgiving, at least for me, gives me an opportunity to reflect on things, both personally as well as professionally. And I think I've really come down to the conclusion that it's all about perspective in your life. Is the glass half full, or is it half empty? And at least for me, I always like to think of, and the kids get sick of me saying this, but it's true, how do we make lemonade out of lemons? Well, Aaron and Rob did get married this week, and it was a lot of fun and a lot of expense. But, I'm now finished with my weddings, and, I'm happy for days, but I'm also sad because I don't have any other children. Now, don't try to send them to me so I can marry them off for you, but, more children, more headaches, more fun, more joy. Love to do that. I've also learned that, my faith is very strong. And I like to thank the Lord as I do, maybe not as often as I should, for being born in this great country, for having parents that loved me, and for meeting what I think is the best person in my life. And she was smart enough to spend the last 44 years of us making our life together, which has been great. This year, fortunately for us, has also been a great year for our company. We've helped more folks retire so far this year than we ever have. We've also helped folks enroll in Medicare and those supplement plans more than we've ever done in the past. The other side to that is, unfortunately, we've had some of our good friends, our clients, pass away. Our country is not at war. But it does feel like at times the moral fabric is coming to pieces. And it's coming apart. And I have discussions with that with clients occasionally. The financial markets are recovering so far this year from last year's down year. But the future, it's always uncertain. And we know that volatility is the price that you pay for the opportunity to have greater returns in the future. It's the yin and the yang, right? Our show, what we like to do is focus on the positive. Planning for retirement is exhilarating for us, and we hope that message comes across as well to you. It's a privilege for us to be invited on your journey in retirement, and we feel like the best days of our lives are ahead of us. And we'd say if you're getting to retire, hopefully the same thing will be for you. And if you believe that, you can meet every day with a smile, which hopefully you do. And more importantly, you don't miss the good stuff while you're focusing on other things. Because unfortunately, the most valuable asset that we have isn't our money, it's our time. So put a smile on your face and have a good time. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoyed it. We had a great, obviously, this will be a Thanksgiving we don't forget too easily in our family. It was fun getting to see everybody and then truthfully kicking them out of town and saying, go back to your life. It's time. I'm sick of feeding you. Could I say? That's what Jewish weddings are. They're not a one-day thing. They're usually like a 4-day thing. We feed the people that come in from out of town. We feed them at the wedding. We feed the ones that stayed over the next night, etc. And then obviously with Thanksgiving, it made it a little more complicated, but that's my daughter, and I love her, and Rob as well, which is great. So, and I've also promised that I'm going to be nice with them, at least for 30 days. And hopefully I'm not going to get overrun with Team Jeffers saying, it's time. You've waited long enough, Dad. You're right. Be nice to be Grandpa someday, maybe. That'll be fun. So, again, while we're waiting for your calls, I'm going to get into our first subject today. Again, our phone lines are open, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Love to hear from you. Coaches create game plans. And so I've been asked, what are some of the factors that we think about in developing an individualized game plan for you? Well, there's things that we really have to measure and really answer some questions at the same time. What assets and income flows are you bringing to the table? What are we putting into the machine? Do I have enough assets or income to be successful in retirement? And we obviously know that by doing the algebra. Will my game plan stand up in volatile markets? And we know that, and we're going to go through the algebra here soon, but if we follow essential formulas, we believe the markets will grow over long periods of time. We're doing prudent withdrawal rates. The answer is, yeah, we're fine. And then certainly one of the other big factors that comes in your game plan is your health and your longevity, which, as you know, longevity isn't measured by parents. It's measured by siblings because they're the closest match to you. And most of your goals are centered around the ability to do things and the people in your life. So the question you have to ask yourself is, how well does your game plan, if you have one today, go in meeting your current expectations. And that's really what it's all about, right? So what should you be doing today? Well, the first thing I would certainly do is I would suggest we're getting towards the end of the year. You're thinking about next year, which is ask yourself, have your goals changed? Is my current game plan meeting my expectations? And I'm not only talking about cash flow, but also in terms of communications, etc. And are the actions of my advisor, if you have one, otherwise you're a self-advisor, right, meeting your expectations? And if they're not, I think it's important to meet with your advisor. You know, we try to meet with our clients at least twice a year, at least one time in person. Some folks we're meeting with 3, 4, 5 times a year. Obviously, we're taking phone calls. But you want to know if you're on track. And if not, what changes have to be made and what recommendations are you receiving to get back on track? You know, it's about accountability, not only accountability for your advisor in terms of doing the things that you have expectations for, but also for you, which is, are you doing the things that you need to do to make your life work? From an investing point of view, I think it's real important to just use an overused phrase. You need to stay in the game. It's kind of simple. I mean, we get right down to it. If you're withdrawing money from your portfolio and you're using a prudent way to withdraw, which rule of thumb is 4%, you need to be invested in such a way to give yourself an opportunity to earn 4%. If you want to add a factor in for inflation, you need to add that. If you need to add a factor in for taxes, you do that. So realistically, you're probably looking at trying to achieve, and you don't do it every year, but you do it sometimes better, sometimes worse, of about 8%. And that's actually what we would consider as a moderate asset allocation. I mean, it's pretty simple to figure it out. I mean, if you were imagine a pile of money and you were pulling off 4% from that, let's just use an example. Let's say you had $1 million. That'd be fun. Cash, that'd even be more fun, right? You're pulling off 4% or $40,000 a year. That's great. Well, if you're earning less than 4% in interest, fortunately you can today if you're involved in some high-yielding money market accounts, you're just keeping even. Is that covering the tax liability? Not really. Is it inflation adjusting your capital for the future? No. So getting more conservative in your investing or getting out of the game in retirement isn't what makes sense. It just can't. And we know there are times, and it's really hard. And I'll be honest with you. It's tough. We've been in a down market for the last couple of years. It's hard to remember that the markets do turn, and they are positive, which is great. Those positive years where you're earning excess returns, you can bank those. And you should be banking them because they create not only a cushion for you, but also the ability to withdraw money more when you need it, and at the same time inflation adjust if that's something that's necessary. I would tell you that from the model that Aaron and I have created and that we use, because we, as you know, we key in on our clients' spending. How much are you spending today? And making sure that that income flow is equal to what your real current spending is. Because we know that if realistically we fund to that 100% net income spending level, over the last 20 years, we haven't had clients that have asked for a raise. Because we know there's some cushion in there. There's some cushion in for the income taxes we withhold, but there's also a cushion there for what I like to call the cost of work. And the cost of work is something we don't quantify, but we know that when you bring those expenses back in retirement, what happens is it becomes a fluff lever for you. And it looks like we do have a caller on line 2. Do I just hit the line there? I'm sorry. Oh, okay, you're picking it up. Mike, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Congratulations to Aaron and Rob.
Thank you so much.
Speaking of grandkids, Aaron in the last month set up some 529 accounts for our 5 grandkids.
Great.
And it was seamless. All I had to do was give names, social security numbers, and date of birth, and she set everything up and then funded it for some other accounts. But I thought maybe it'd be constructive to take a minute and you discuss that for maybe some listeners that aren't aware of it. To me, it was the best thing we've done in a long time, and we get to see, hopefully, our grandkids benefit from it, not after we pass away. So if you maybe just talk a minute about that, it'd be nice.
Mike, be very happy to do that. Thanks so much for calling in, and obviously your well wishes for the kids who are at home sleeping. They said they weren't going to even wake up to listen to the show today. But, 529 is an opportunity for parents, grandparents, to invest money for their children, grandchildren, exclusively for the use of college education. And or also it can be used for parochial school and higher education. The money grows income tax deferred. Once it's withdrawn, you're not paying taxes on the growth, which is kind of cool. It's almost like a Roth IRA for your kids and or grandkids' college education. If it comes to a time where we find that either that child doesn't need the money, that's okay. We can always move it to another person. And frankly, if it's there for 15 years, what I understand with new changes in the law, it can also then be rolled into a Roth IRA. So you never lose it if you don't use it. But tax deferral and savings, and as Mike was saying, the joy of watching that money grow. And hopefully, Mike, you'll be having some discussions with those kids when they're old enough to talk about the value of investing, as you're doing, because the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, is a great thing to do. About the companies, about how great, obviously, this country is because of the freedom that we have, and frankly, how capitalism, the ability for growth, the ability to make profit is really what drives the markets and makes us just a great country. So it's all good. And again, thanks so much for your call. It looks like I do have my first text of the day. And the question, I guess, revolves around, do I purchase or lease a car now? This is an easy decision. And as you know from listening to me over the years, I don't purchase automobiles. And I don't do that because I don't know of any automobiles that are created that are actually going to be classic cars 5 or 10 years from now. We know they depreciate in value. On average, they're depreciating almost 20% the moment you drive it out of the showroom. With over a 3-year period, most cars lose half their value. So, Jeff, why would I give you money so that you could lose half of it automatically? The answer is no. What I like about leasing is the fact that I have a guaranteed price on the automobile. What I'm doing is I'm paying for the difference between that value, that price, and what the manufacturer believes is the depreciated value. They call that the residual value at the time, at the end of the lease, and usually that's a 3 to a 5 year period. I still have the right, if I want to purchase that car for a guaranteed price, which is in my lease contract, at the end. And so for me, what's happened is that I found over the years, while interest rates were very low, there was no advantage to purchase whatsoever. I was able to actually continue to exchange cars because prices weren't going up dramatically. And one other thing that I found they don't really talk about in any article I've ever read about this, it's the residual value. These manufacturers tend to believe that the value of their cars after 3 years and after you've driven X number of miles is going to be worth a certain amount. And I will tell you that over my 30 years, it ain't true. It's just not. And so what happens is that you have a car that's worth less than they think it is. You haven't paid as much. You've paid less for it, frankly, because they thought it was worth more, because you're only financing the difference between the purchase price and the residual. And you save money. Now, if you love the automobile, you want to keep it, great. Have fun. Buy the thing out. Is that really different now in financing, paying interest, especially today, on a declining residual on a car? I don't really think so. Also, the one thing I like is that the technology in these cars continues to improve. I love the idea of every 3 years being able to trade my car and get a new one. And frankly, in the past, I haven't found that the payments over a 6-year period, 2-3-year leases, any different than the cost of the car. What's a 6-year-old car worth? I don't know. But again, it isn't a matter of, it's not really a function of how long will I keep the car. Because once you keep it till the end of the lease, you have the privilege to buy it. So I would say save your dough and not do that. What I would say is that I've talked a little bit this morning. Our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. We are going to have to take our first break of this 2-hour show. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Don't touch that dial. I'll be right back with some more Straight Talk on Retirement after these messages. This is Jeff Lapidus, the Retirement Coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
What makes SWIC your first choice? Is it our affordable tuition, convenient locations, and online classes? Or the 150-plus degrees and certificates in business, fine arts, health science, technical education, and more? Whatever it is, Southwestern Illinois College can train you for an exciting career or help you prepare for university. Visit swic.edu and take a tour today. Spring 2024 enrollment now open. Classes start soon. Shop, snack, and be merry Wednesday, November 29th from 3 to 9 at the Hill Antique Market's Christmas Extravaganza. Heidi and Josh will be broadcasting live from La Verona from 3 to 6. There'll be a cash bar and light snacks. You'll get 10% discounts on merchandise all day. Santa will be there from 4 to 7. There'll be raffles and plenty of surprises. And of course, you'll help support more than 75 local vendors and added pop-up stores. That's Wednesday, November 29th from 3 to 9 at the Hill Antique Market's Christmas Extravaganza, 4923 Daggett on the Hill. Global digital consultancy Proficient is growing fast and giving back to their hometown St. Louis bigger than ever before. Join Proficient this holiday season as they partner with KTRS at Proficient's Light Up Glennon events to bring song, light, and joy to the brave and inspiring patients in Cardinal Glennon's care. Join us on the evenings of December 4th and December 18th and light up the night and your spirit with Proficient, KTRS, and some incredible kids.
The warmth of holiday giving glows brightly every year at Christopher's Gifts in Kirkwood. Effortless entertaining or thoughtful gifts. And now it's twice as bright with the addition of a brother location. Mark Anthony's, just 1 block away. Shop local, shop both stores. Christopher's and Mark Anthony's, known for St. Louis essential gift giving. For the home, for the body, for the memories. Christopher's and Mark Anthony's in Kirkwood. Christopher'sGifts.com and ma-gifts.com. Let the giving begin.
I'm Jennifer Blome, and like a lot of you, I have anxiety about going to the dentist. I was so happy when I found Baldwin Dental Care. Dr. Kimberly Simons is the owner, and she and her staff understand what it's like to be a patient. There's a new patient special right now, a comprehensive exam, a cleaning, 4 x-rays, and an oral cancer screening for $99 or a $100 credit on your account. Baldwin Dental Care in the old Johnny Mac Sporting Goods store on Manchester Road. Just Google Baldwin Dental Care and tell them Jennifer and Wendy sent you.
No one has done more for new development projects in St. Louis than my guys, Bob and Steve O'Loughlin. From Westport Plaza to the Cheshire to Union Station and their newest place, The Pitch, perfectly situated next to the new soccer stadium at Union Station. The Pitch is a beautiful athletic club and tavern. Food and drink you can't wait to celebrate. The Pitch is where sports fans go to get the best seats in the house and elevated eats to go with them. Find The Pitch online at thepitch-stl.com.
I'm Farmer Dave, and here's my good friend and owner of MasterCars Inc., Alex Rosenberger, with today's hot MasterCars Inc. deals.
Well, the cool weather is setting in, and you know Corvettes and late-model muscle cars are a specialty, but we've got great inventory to make this season more bearable. Lifted Jeep Wranglers, Jeep Gladiators, Hummer H1 and H2s, Ford Raptors, Dodge Power Wagons, GMC Sierra AT4Xs, all the neat stuff to get you through. And we've got Black Friday specials going on all throughout November. Interest rates as low as 4.99 on select models. And if you've got a vehicle that's unique, special interest, classic, super low miles, anything like that you're interested in selling, we'll even buy entire collections. Just contact us.
So rev that motor and point your car in the direction of MasterCars Inc. and buy or sell today. 4100 Namioki Road in Granite City, or visit MasterCarsInc.com to get more details. That's MasterCarsInc.com.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, it's 8:37 here on the Big 550 KTRS, Talk Radio St. Louis. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Flying solo today. Kids are on their, not really honeymoon, but taking the weekend off. Our phone lines are open. I'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877, or the usually hot, because Rob's reading it, text line 84126. I did receive a text while we were in our unending commercials. I've been a listener for some time and enjoy the show. I plan to retire near the end of 2025. Cool, that's about 2 years away. When should I call your office to arrange for a free coaching session, and who will I visit with? Well, I would say that the best time to call is when you're ready. Sounds like you're ready, so obviously you can give us a call if you like, 314-863-0008, or if you like, go to our website, jblfinancial.com, hit the Contact Us section, give us your information. Our staff will be happy to send that out to you. You'll be visiting with Erin, because she's the smart one. She gets to visit with all the new folks that are interested in coming to visit with us. And this is really a good time. I would say any time that you're, within 5 years of retirement is smart, because what we're able to do is really we want to take a snapshot of where you are today, obviously find out about where you want to go, and within 15 minutes of you sitting with us, we're going to outline and create that game plan for you on our large 6x8-foot electronic whiteboard. And it's fun. It's free at our offices, and all of that. We'd love to see you. So call when you're ready. Call when you like. That's great. And so while we're waiting for more of your calls and texts, I would like to share with you a coaching session that I had with some folks earlier this week, and certainly Erin does meet with mostly everybody new that comes in and visits, but she took the week off because it was wedding time. A little too nervous. John is 66, and he's a lifelong sales rep for a very large private company headquartered here in St. Louis. He's accumulated about $1.75 million in his 401k plan. His wife, Sarah, who's a couple years younger at 64, worked briefly as a nurse for about 10 years at one of the major hospital systems here in the city, and then became a stay-home mom while the kids were at home. She has about $65,000 in a IRA and about $85,000 in a Roth IRA. For most folks, $85,000 in a Roth IRA sounds like it's a lot, but John and Sarah were smart. After she retired from being a nurse, what they began to do is to make spousal contributions for her into a Roth IRA. Pretty smart to do. They also have about $45,000 in savings at a local credit union, and they kind of consider this as their vault. And so in total, they've got approximately $1.8 million in pre-tax savings, and about another $120,000 in tax-free savings, which we're including the Roth IRA in that. So whenever we're developing a game plan, and I think our texters, hopefully they're still listening, like paying attention to this. When we're talking about cash flow planning, what Aaron and I like to do is we like to start from the end. What I like to say is when all the faucets are on. So the first thing that we did was we went through what is their current after-tax monthly spending. And some folks, when they come in and visit with us, they have spreadsheets where they've really tracked their money. Others are like, I don't know. So our first question is, for those folks that haven't done detailed tracking, which, by the way, is okay, how much are you saving after tax from this amount that they're depositing into your checking account every 2 weeks? And some folks are, they may not know the exact numbers, but then we'll say, fine, if that's okay, how about ballparking for us? How much do you think your after-tax savings grew in the last 12 months? And were there any were there lack of extraordinary expenditures, et cetera? And they'll tell us. And so that number really becomes their after-tax number. And so in John and Sarah's case, it was approximately $6,000 per month. They don't have any long-term debt, no mortgage, no home equity lines of credit, and also they're not responsible for repaying any student loans for themselves or their children. So naturally what we do is we increase that amount by 20%. To take into account federal and state taxes. They happen to be Missouri residents. If they were Illinois residents, then they get to save the state side. So $7,200 is our base number. We know that John at his normal retirement age, which is approximately, at this point, about 10 months away, would be about $2,900 per month. Sarah, whose Social Security benefit was less than half of John's, would probably wait until and then elect the spousal benefit, which could be equal to 50% of John's benefit, if she waits until normal retirement age to elect the benefit. And we know that because of the rules have changed a couple of years ago, Sarah can't elect the spousal benefit unless John has elected his benefit. And again, her benefit is discounted back from that 50% number by 8% each year before her normal retirement age. So if we assume that she waits and he takes his normal, they're about $2,850 per month short. $7,200 less $4,350 from their Social Security benefits. They had no pension. So over a 12-month period, that's about $34,200 per month. And naturally what we did, we asked them, tell us a little bit here what your priorities are. And they said it was very important for them to have a steady stream of income. Not unusual, right? They also wanted to make sure that survivor income needs would be taken care of after one of them died, because we know that at the first death, the surviving spouse has to choose between their Social Security benefit or their deceased spouses. And so we know in this case, they're going to lose $1,450 a month, which was Sarah's benefit, regardless of who passes away first, because if John passes away first, Sarah's going to elect John's benefit, in which case hers would get increased to that $2,900, but she loses hers. And they also were interested and wanted to make sure that they could pass on assets to their 3 children and their 4 grandchildren without me hating on them. But no big deal. So question number 1, how much capital do they need to be able to generate the income flow that they want to make their life work? I like to call that the milk money. Well, algebraically, what we do is we know that they need they need $34,200 per year. We divide that by 4%, and that number comes out to be $855,000, i.e. the milk money. Well, based on the amount of retirement capital that they have 1.8, so we know the rock stars, right? We dedicate $855 to the retirement income, and that leaves them with $1 million left to do other things with, which is kind of cool. Once they realized, hey, we're going to be okay, then they had some other questions. Do we save Roth assets for capital expenditures, estate planning purposes, or do we use this as part of our income flow? Well, from our experience, we like to recommend, if possible, that our clients retain their Roth assets, not as a source of income flow, but really either for estate planning purposes to pass assets on to their children, income tax-free, or to use these for capital expenditures. And we get this a lot. I need to redo the kitchen. I need to purchase another car, replace the one that I have. We're taking a big thing. We're taking a big trip to Hawaii over our normal spending. We need to get capital. In many cases, we know that pulling large amount of capital from their retirement accounts is not only going to maybe increase their marginal and effective income tax rate, which isn't always preferable, but based on their income level, is it possible that it could also affect their Medicare Part B premiums? Now, in this case, it wouldn't because, again, their income flows $72,000 a year, which is below the $90,000 threshold for married filing jointly, which is 11%. So they have a little room if they need to. But again, for the big stuff, we'd say let's retain the Roth. Our other question was, how important is it to them to lock in this $2,850 per month that you need as a joint and survivor? We'll call it a pension benefit. And if so, how much of this income do you want locked in? And that's a big deal because what we can do in our planning is we can recreate pensions for those people that don't have them. We can make sure that they're structured in such a way so that they are joint and survivor. And so the question for them is this going to make you sleep better at night as compared to having all of the milk money, in theory, subject to market volatility? And that really is up to them, which is kind of cool. I do have a couple of other game plans that we want to talk about, specifically Social Security, long-term care planning, estate planning. These are all really part of our whole retirement game plan. But I've got to take break 2 of this hour, so don't touch that dial. I'll be right back with some more Straight Talk on Retirement after these messages.
Hey, it's John Carney, and I don't want to scare you, and we're still a little way away from Christmas and all. But, you know, that time of year, Santa comes rolling over to the house, lands on the chimney, and comes down with lots of gifts. Of course, if he lands on your chimney and he falls through the roof, I bet he's not going to leave you anything except for a card of his attorney. So it might be a good idea. Make sure your roof's in tip-top shape. And if it's not about Santa, it's about everything that's under that roof. You, your family, your stuff. You know what? Allen Roofing's been taking care of all of those things, probably even for Santa as well. I don't know if they go to the North Pole, but they go lots of places, including your neighborhood. Make sure your roof is safe and sound, and your people as well. Siding, chalk pointing, everything outside, they will do your homework. Find them online at aroofing.net. Ho, ho, ho.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Martin Kilcoyne for my friends at AAA Home Services. For over 50 years, AAA Home Services has been a leader in selling and servicing American Standard heating and air conditioning. Whether you need a new furnace or air conditioner or simply need service, AAA Home Services can handle all your needs from heating and cooling to plumbing, appliance repair, and electrical repair. For the best deals of the year, call AAA at 636-397-3200. Open 6 days a week. Online at AAASTL.com. Call AAA. We're on our way. Let's go Tigers.
Boy, the heat and the humidity of the summer is gone. We can open up the windows and enjoy some of that fresh air. Oh, wait a minute. You can't open up your window? It hasn't been opened up since the Reagan administration? Time for you to get new windows and maybe some new doors. Where do you get windows and doors? Well, you go to the store to get them, the window store. That's right, the window store, WS Window and Door. They've been around a long time. Larry Thornton, the owner, he's trying to retire, but he keeps selling windows. Now, they don't really sell windows. All they do at the window store is they give you a bid. That's it. That's all they do. And then they'll let their bid do their talking. Every window and door is energy efficient. There is no upselling. There is no marketing, buy one, get 70 free, or take 900% off. No. The window store is a great St. Louis company with great St. Louis people, and all they want to do is give you a bid, and they'll let their bid do their talking for you. So open up that door, open up that window, make the phone call, 314-739-0002 or wswindow.net.
In the world we live in, addiction is everywhere, but recovery is possible. At Illinois Recovery Center, they treat the addiction, but they also treat you. The professional staff utilizes individual therapy, group therapy, and cognitive behavioral therapy, so you can gain control of your thoughts and then gain control of your life. Evidence-based treatment programs can get you on the path to sobriety. The beautiful new facility in Swansea, Illinois, has a safe and inclusive environment. When you're ready to break free and live your life, please go to IllinoisRecoveryCenter.com.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
That's right. We're back here on the Big 550 KTRS. It's 8:51. And I'm still alive and well and waiting for your phone calls. Love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Aaron and Rob, I don't know what they're doing. They're probably snoozing away. They just got married a couple of days ago, so that was really a lot of fun. And I'm certainly looking forward to them returning to work. To me, this is fun. Enjoy the time. In the last segment, we were talking about Sarah and John, a couple of folks that have come to visit with us, and we were beginning to build a retirement game plan. Again, we started with what are their expenses, what are their suspected income flows. We mapped those out, and we tried to figure out how much capital do they need to dedicate to, I like to call it the milk money, to generate the income stream that they need for their retirement. And we talked about the magic formula, right? What you need divided by 4% gives you the capital amount. So that's kind of easy. But one of the important parts of Social Security, of planning for retirement also has to be, when do I like my Social Security benefits? And again, this is different for many folks. In their particular case, as I mentioned earlier, for Sarah, who had a lower benefit than her husband's, than basically the spousal election, 50% of her husband's benefit, several things needed to happen. John needed to have elected and is receiving his Social Security benefit. And for Sarah to maximize that spousal benefit, she needed to wait until 67, which is about 3 years, before she elected her Social Security benefit to receive that maximum amount. Now, this could all be changed because John may decide that to delay his electing his Social Security benefit to his full normal or past normal retirement age, maybe even to age 70, could create a greater income stream for Sarah should she predecease him. And we know that they have sufficient amount of retirement assets, only needing basically $800 of $1.8 million to create that income stream. Could we certainly then pull money and basically cover over that Social Security benefit for them? The answer is yeah. So they could postpone it. Right answers, wrong answers? No, they're all right answers. It's really a matter of what makes you feel better. In John's case, knowing that Sarah would have a higher benefit for him if he predeceases her might be valuable. Or at the same time for him, it might make him feel more comfortable knowing that if Sarah predeceases him, that what will happen is that he's going to lose her spousal benefit and have to make that up as well. But fortunately, they have enough capital to deal with it for each of them. Now, if Sarah and John weren't married, let's say John was single, we think it makes sense to take Social Security as early as possible because you don't have the need necessarily to grow that benefit to benefit someone else if you predecease them. In a lot of cases, we find that electing Social Security at the time that your retirement is important because you need the money. But again, how much cash flow you have, how much you need, how much capital do you have available to help create that income flow is important, and it's a matter of timing and, frankly, health. The healthier you are, maybe you can put it off longer. If you're not so healthy, take your Social Security benefit. That's what you want to do. There are two other game plans that we like to talk about with folks, and we're always covering these. The first one is, obviously, healthcare planning, Medicare. How do we get into Medicare? How do we choose the right supplemental plan to do that? How do we do it seamlessly? Well, you've heard the kid. We're the experts at doing that. We're very happy to help, and we assist probably 300 to 400 people a year in doing that, which is I'm very proud of. And it's great, and there are listeners, are folks like you. Along with healthcare planning, it's long-term care planning, which is what happens if someone becomes chronically ill. The one thing that we like to remind folks before we have a discussion about do they need to dedicate specific assets for this purpose, do they consider purchasing insurance, do they self-fund, is to remember that the income flows that you have and are receiving during retirement, either from your retirement plans or from Social Security, they're not going to stop. So what we're really talking about is how much does it cost as an estimate, usually anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000 a month, depending on if you have a mortgage or not. Do we need to fund each month for the non-chronically ill spouse? And then $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 maybe for the chronically ill spouse. Where is there a gap? Do we need to fill a gap? Do we want to pay a premium to fill that gap? Are we eligible to do so? Do we have non-retirement assets to do so? Because unfortunately, you can't do it with retirement assets. We'll figure that out. That's again, a part of our game plan. And the last one really is estate planning. Love to say is how do we pass on the assets to the people that we love when we're gone? Well, in Sarah and John's case, they have children, and they've got grandchildren. They've got 2 grandchildren as well, so they're 2 ahead of me. That's cool. The tax laws have changed. And we know that a non-spouse IRA, non-spouse beneficiaries, children, grandchildren, that inherit IRAs from their parents, have to empty these within 10 years. Now, the grandchildren, if they're young enough, they can take required minimum distribution until they're 18, and then they fall into the 10-year cycle. We also know that if John and Sarah are receiving required minimum distributions at the time of their death, kids inherit it, then they at least have to take out that minimum amount as well. So planning for how do we actually pass these assets on our estate, what we worked our entire lifetimes to build, in the most tax-efficient way is extremely important. And I'll be honest with you, Roth conversions aren't the answer to this. Paying Uncle Sam taxes on the front end to save on the back end is not the case, because we know if you ever took finance, had an opportunity to take a finance course, it's called present value. The present value of dollars today are worth more than in the future. So we want to try to put off taxes to the future. Are there other ways to create capital to pay those taxes for your children, grandchildren on these IRAs that Uncle Sam's going to have to receive taxes on? And the answer is, of course, there is. You can use cash, your cash. You can use insurance companies' cash. We call that life insurance. Another reason why we're talking about repurposing insurance, one of our articles in our newsletter. We're doing this a lot with folks. We have some folks that are frankly wanting to make purchases, and they do that. We have some folks that have said to us, hey, you know what? I want my kids to get all the money, but I want to do something to create capital for my grandkids. How can we do that? Well, obviously, with many of our clients, they're taking their life insurance policies and they're changing the beneficiaries. That's easy idea, right? Woo-hoo. Some that don't have it, well, they're purchasing insurance, and frankly, it's not that expensive as compared to the capital being created. Do we have special needs children or grandchildren that we have to deal with after we're gone? Do we want to create capital for them so that they have an income during their lives? Unfortunately, all children are not created equally or the same way. Is this a time that we need to rebalance, retip the scales? And are there charitable interests that we're interested in dealing with and benefiting at our death. These are all important assets, all part of a game plan for retirement, really an inclusive, a financial plan. And we'll talk more about this in number 2.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Woohoo! Hour number 2, Straight Talk on Retirement. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Willing, waiting, and wanting to answer your questions at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Usually I have lots of texts, so do me a favor, help the old man out today, would you? Love to hear from you again at 84126 from the text line. A couple of text questions while we're waiting before I get into our next subject matter. Are all coaching sessions in person, or do you offer telephone and or Zoom meetings? And the answer is it depends on you. We're happy to visit with folks at our offices in Olivet, 9300 Olive Boulevard. Love to see you there. We have great coffee, snacks, 6x8 foot electronic whiteboard. Love to do that. But we do offer telephone and Zoom meetings. But we do request is that before we have those meetings, we're going to ask you to send us some information, the same stuff we would have you bring with you during a coaching session, which is a copy of a tax return, last tax return, investment statements. Let us know whether if you have documents, we'd love to see your will and trust, etc., mortgage documents if you have them, just so we can get a very good financial overview of where you are today. And then obviously we have a very short questionnaire we send out to you. Give us some base information, but also tell us a little bit about what you're spending in, goals and objectives, etc. Okay, so here's another text question. I have found out about an option to buy an annuity type investment. Not sure exactly what the investment is, but can you take your RMD and convert it to this option, then redeem it at 65? I believe it is taxable at that point. Thanks. Can you confirm or explain the feature? And we don't hear about why we don't hear about this option. Okay, so an annuity may be purchased as a part of your retirement account. It can be an investment very similar to or an alternative to mutual funds, ETFs, REITs, etc., anything else that you might be able to invest inside of an IRA account. It is subject to income taxes when you pull the money out. It's also subject, as it is a part of your IRA, to required minimum distributions each year. But I think this concept of buying an annuity and like taking your RMD and converting it might be a little misunderstanding there. So if you were to purchase an annuity outside of an IRA, we call that a non-qualified annuity. The interest or earnings grow income tax deferred in that annuity contract. When you begin to make withdrawals from that contract, you always withdraw interest or earnings first until those are liquidated, if you want to call that, used up. And then you begin to pull principal, which is not subject to income taxes. Now, I guess the question might have been, should I take my RMD and then purchase an annuity with it? Does that make sense? And the answer is, I don't know. Generally, the answer probably is it could be yes if you're maybe looking at purchasing it as a fixed income alternative, like a fixed annuity where you're getting a guaranteed interest rate for a couple number of years. But if you have to remember, annuities are not FDIC insured. They're backed by the general assets of the insurance company. And if you're working with a good company, that really isn't an issue. But again, the one big deal about annuities is that interest internally or growth is income tax deferred until the time you take to pay it. So I hope that answers your question. And if not, text me again. Be a little more specific. I appreciate that. Again, 84126 from our text line or 314-931-5877. If you want to first talk to my producer, Eric, he'll let me know you're on the line. Be happy to talk to you at that time. I did receive also a text question. I'm turning 73 next year. what are the key dates I need to know about taking my first RMD? Well, unlike the old rules, what happens is we're not worried about and a half anymore. No matter what day you turn 73 next year, you're going to be subject to take a required minimum distribution for that entire year. So your first key date is, what is the value of your IRA account or 401k if you're over 73? It's still working. On 12/31, December 31, the last day of the year. That is actually the RMD value that you need to know, because that's the one. That's when you have. That's the number we're going to pull from. That percentage, that number that we're applying to, that factor is what's going to be applied. The second important date is, when do I have to pull the money? Well, you really have two dates. Number one is that you need to pull it before December 31st of next year, within a 12-month period. Or you can delay as far as April 1st of the following year. But if you delay till April 1st of the following year, that 2025 year, you also have to take your second RM. You also have to take your requirement of distribution for 24 during 25, and for 25 during 25. So you've got to take two in that year. And generally, there may be some exceptions to this, but we don't generally see people doubling up on that, because usually what occurs is that the year that you retire is generally not your 73. So what happens is that your income is going to be lower in that year. So don't double up. It's usually not a good idea. In regard to, and the other question that usually also falls is, well, Jeff, how do we take it? Well, what's nice is that you can take your requirement of distribution any way you want, whether it's monthly, quarterly, or as you go. You can have it set up systematically or not. For many of our clients, what they're doing is, if they don't have a specific need for that money, let's use an example. Let's say somebody has an IRA of $300,000. As a rule of thumb, you can say at 73, it's about 4%. So in other words, we need to pull about $12,000 in that year they turn 73 to satisfy the IRS requirements. For many of our clients, they've paid off their mortgages, but they still owe real estate taxes, which they usually pay in November, December. Well, what we'll do is we'll target to send them 15 to 30 days before they're due the amount of the real estate taxes, so they don't have to save up during the year. This also makes it real easy for certain other things, if you can imagine, right? I'm getting out of town. I'm going south for the winter, or I'm going west for the winter, or I'm going on a cruise during the winter. Well, now I've got some money saved aside for that trip. Or maybe there's a family trip. Or maybe there's a renovation you're looking to make. Maybe a large one where, hey, I have to do it over 2 years. Well, that's cool. Take some this year. Then you get an RMD next year. We pull that early so you can put the money together. Fitting your needs and fitting your cash flow is great. And that's exactly what you can do. What you can't do, though, is not take the requirement of distribution. Because if you don't, you pay the worst penalty in the tax code, which is now, it's been reduced, but it's still 25% of what you should have taken. And then you still have to take it, and you still have the taxes. So, we go through a process in our office where during the month of January, it takes a little while. We're gathering the information from our clients' various IRA custodians. And some folks have IRAs outside of us, not too many, but we're usually managing all of their IRAs. So we have that information. If they have annuities in their IRAs, like our last texter was asking, we're getting information from them. And in February, we're talking to them. We're saying, hey, we owe you this much money. You may be taking distributions. We can subtract it from those. And say, hey, do we still owe you a balance to meet the required minimum for the year or not? And if we do, well, how do we want to take it? What are the purposes? What's the timing? Do we want to make it automatically into your account on the same day every year? And that's really up to you. So a lot of flexibility, but the fun part is we're interactive, right? And usually the question that follows that is, well, is there anything that I can do to reduce the tax costs associated with these RMDs? And the answer is, yeah, there's only one thing you can do. Just one. Charitable contributions. And what I mean by that is that Our clients are making a list of the charitable contributions that they're giving to, they're cutting checks for. And we say to them is, guess what? You don't have to do that anymore. You'll give us the list. You'll sign a form with us. And we'll send these out for you when you want and in the amount that you want. And what will happen is that by us as the custodian sending that money out for you, that will reduce the taxable amount of your distribution dollar for dollar. So let's use an example. Let's take our last example where somebody has a $12,000 IRA required minimum distribution. First question is, do you belong to a church or temple? Are you paying dues? How do you pay them? Well, great. We'll take care of that for you. We get the name of the church, share whoever it might be, send that amount. Let's say they're paying them $1,000 a year. Great. Are we giving money to any other 501c3 charitable organizations? To the ASPCA, to the Wounded Warriors, to St. Jude, to whomever. That's great. We'll take care of that for you. Do you send it at a specific time, at a date, or an amount? Once a year or more often? That's great. We get the list. We tell you, it's like going to see Santa. Check it twice. Send it to us. Our staff will get you the paperwork. And what's cool is once we've started doing this for you, what happens is that you don't have to fill in paperwork anymore. Unless we're going to get rid of somebody and add somebody new. Once we have the paperwork, we talk about it in February. We say, here's your list from last year. Who do we need to update? Or tell us beforehand who we need to do this with. And we'll take care of it for you. So it's easy. And so in this case, as an example, let's say we had a $12,000 required minimum distribution. We're sending $2,000 to churches and various other charities. Well, the amount that we're paying taxes on is $10,000 instead of $12,000. Again, the hook here is that the custodian, the people that are holding your IRA, they have to cut the checks for you as a third-party check. Now, the charity's going to know who it's coming from. But if we send you the money, deal's done. Then if you're not itemizing deductions, you've got a $500 maximum that you can use on your front page of your 1040. But you lose the deduction. So getting our clients to permit us to do things more tax effectively for them, it's heaven. It's fun. It's great. Wouldn't you agree? Well, of course you would. Again, our phone lines are open. Love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Keep those text questions coming. Love to hear from you. I just received one. My dad left me his IRAs of about $330,000. $260,000 is in traditional IRA. $70,000 is Roth. What are the rules now about inheriting an IRA? And is there a difference between traditional and Roth IRAs? Well, first of all, obviously, sorry. Our condolences to the texter. I lost my dad a couple of years ago. It's not fun. But at least you got some dough, right? So the traditional IRA and the Roth IRA are treated similar in distribution patterns, but not in taxation. What I mean by that is that since you're a non-spouse IRA, you're the son, you will have to withdraw that $260,000 of your inherited IRA from your dad over a 10-year period. Now, if your dad was receiving, if he was over the age of 73 and receiving IRA distribution, actually in his case over the age of 70, receiving distributions, you'll have to take out at least the amount he was taking out each year. But still at the end of 10 years, it has to be empty. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't take out more than the minimum, but you need to be careful. If you're still actively at work, what I would certainly suggest to you is that if you're not making the maximum contribution to your current retirement accounts, whether it's a SEP or 401k, 403b, etc., what we might try to do is to match the distribution amount from Dad's IRA, if we're lucky, with the amount that you can put into your retirement account. So we maximize that for the year, which is this year it's about $25,000 if you're over the age of 50. So that really it becomes a wash in terms of taxes. You've reduced your pay, you have less taxes, you're taking the distribution from your beneficiary IRA, so therefore you're paying the same amount of taxes. So it's a good idea, good thing to do. In regard to the Roth, you still have to empty that account within 10 years. Now, Roths don't require minimum distributions, which means you can leave the thing in there. Let it grow for 10 years, income tax deferred, pull it out later. I would certainly do that or consider doing that if you don't need the money. At the same time, we like to think of these as the capital consumption piggy bank, so I would do that. Hope that answers your question. So again, the money has to be out by 10 years. The taxation is different, and you do have RMDs with traditional IRAs you don't with Roth. Did receive a test question. Can you take your RMD monies, distributions, and invest it? Well, the answer is yes, and we do this a lot for clients. What will happen is we may see situations where they're not, the amount of the distribution they're taking, they're not already consuming, so they're like, Jeff, what should we do? Aaron, what should I do with it? Well, what we'll suggest is we'll withhold the taxes for you and then I call recycling. Cycle that money back into a non-retirement account. Could be a joint account with the spouse if you have one. It could be a transfer on death account. It could be a trust account, living trust account. And then we begin to invest the proceeds for you. So that's kind of easy to do. Not a problem. Our next texter write, I just sold my business and want to minimize or eliminate any capital gains. We are an LLC and file S returns. Well, my friend, I can appreciate that. And I would only suggest a couple of things to you to do this. Number one is you can't minimize the gains. The truth is you want to maximize the capital gains because if you don't, capital gains are taxed lower than ordinary income. But what you might be able to, consider doing, if you can, if you're being retained by the company to, let's say, under an employment agreement, which we know a lot of our business owners do because they want that transition, that new owner wants the transition to be nice and smooth, and they'll pay the person for the previous owner for 6 months, a year, etc. You still have time. Maximize the contribution, if you're not already doing so, to your current retirement account, up to $25,000, and then do the same thing next year. That's your reduced taxes. You could also be in a situation, and one thing that many of our clients also look at is what's called a donor-advised fund. And this is basically a charitable account that you can create where you get upfront tax deductions for the amount that you donate. And then what happens is that you get to distribute your money as you want. So let's use an example here. Let's say that you estimated that you were going to have $50,000 in capital gains. And you're currently making contributions to charities like we talked about before, churches or other 501c3s. Now, let's say you're only spending, setting $5,000 a year. Well, what you might want to do is make a charitable donation into your DAF of $50,000. So you've basically pre-funded your charitable contributions for the next 10 years, and you send the money out as you like. But that'll help you on the front end to reduce your taxes. So these are strategies, and we do, I've been working with business owners for about 40 years. So these are some of the strategies that we can work with your accountant, with your CPA. Hopefully your financial advisor, if you have one, is aware of these. But it's a good time to try to strategize as much as you can before 12/31, especially if the sale's this year. Because once we go back to January 1, you lose everything that you could have done this year. So, very good question. Congratulations on selling your business. But those are a couple strategies that you can use to minimize the effect of capital gains. And truthfully, as a business owner, Again, you really want most of that, if you can, to be capital gain as compared to ordinary income, like an employment agreement, because then you're paying ordinary income taxes on that money instead of capital gains, which you got long-term capital gains. That's the best thing at all. Love that. And I was also going to say, just again, this is kind of just I apologize, stuff's just kind of coming out of my brain here, is that if you had losses in previous years, which you may have had if you sold securities, let's say, during the pandemic, change your portfolio. These long-term capital gains could offset dollar for dollar your accumulated long-term capital losses. So great time to engage your accountant, engage your financial advisor. Let's look at everything, and try to figure this out. But again, doing it before 12/31, good thinking. Appreciate that text. Again, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877, 84126 from the text line. We thank your texters. Daddy-O solo today, so you're certainly helping me out. I do appreciate it. And again, I think what we'll do now is it's 26 after the hour. Why don't we take our first break? And I'll be back with some more Straight Talk on Retirement right after these messages.
Martin Kilcoyne for AAA Home Services. They are a proud sponsor of Mizzou Hoops. And for over 50 years, AAA Home Services has been a leader in selling and servicing American Standard heating and air conditioning. Also experts in plumbing, appliance repair, and electrical needs. Now is a great time to get that furnace checked by the experts for only $89. Call AAA at 636-397-3200. Open 6 days a week. Online at AAASTL.com. Call AAA. We're on our way. Let's go Tigers.
You've moved before, and when it comes time for you to move again, and I know that these are things you probably are not thinking about right now, I'm going to make a recommendation on a mover for you. These people are simply great. And just because they have moved the Cardinals every season for like the last 35 doesn't mean they're going to cost you any more than, the guy down the road. Aim Razek, totally professional. They love moving. They live for moving. I know it sounds crazy, but they invest in people, and then they reward those people when they do a good job. That's how great companies are run, and that's the kind of company Aim Razek is, a United Van Lines company. So whether you're a corporate relocation or you're doing some sort of hospitality installation or you're just moving to another house across the street, around the block, across the state, across the country, or around the world, you can count on Aim Razek. They're there for you all the time. You'll find them online at a-mrazek.com.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
When my daughter gets a cold, I have a secret weapon. DayQuil Kids Berry from Vicks. DayQuil Kids is specially formulated to treat kids' most bothersome cold and cough symptoms quickly. And the best part is that DayQuil Kids Berry tastes really great. Aren't you supposed to be resting? Maybe.
DayQuil Kids Berry. The kids' berry-licious daytime congestion, coughing, stuffy head, stuffy nose, just for kids. Medicine. Safe for kids 6 years plus.
Dr. Joseph Molesky here with STL Medical Weight Loss. Are you frustrated in not getting the results you desire in your weight loss program? We have the difference. It's the Dr. Joe difference. We provide highly effective injectable weight loss peptides delivered to your door that work in your gut, liver, and pancreas to get down the weight. You're going to see in the first 90 days 15 to 30 pound weight loss. Book an appointment at stlmedweightloss.com. Call us at 636-628-6604. We're going to change your life in less than 90 days.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Welcome back. It's 9:29:22 here on the Big 550 KTRS. Last half hour of the show. I'm revved up and ready to go. Give me a call, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from text line. And, it's heating up a little bit. A lot of varied questions today. This is a good one. Jeff, what is your game plan for retirement? You know, that's like the $50 million question. I've got the kid. I have my son-in-law. They've been on the air with me. They're doing great. Clients like them. They don't even want to see me anymore. Well, just between us, I'm not going anywhere. My daughter wants me to stay and work. I love visiting with clients. It's really my favorite thing to do, find out about what's going on with them and their game plans and helping them. And I love being on the show. So I have cut back my hours of work a little bit more to dedicate more to my lousy golf game, which I hope it'll be a poor golf game and not lousy in the future. So I'll be here for a long time, folks. You're welcome. That's a great one. How often do you recommend, Jeff, rebalancing your retirement accounts? Well, we like to suggest that you rebalance your accounts at least once per year. That's a way that you can capture gains. And what you're doing is you're pulling off gains from the winners and then feeding that money to those that haven't done as well, the losers, if you want to call it that way. Getting your portfolio back into balance. Also, at the same time, you know, whenever you're rebalancing your portfolio, now we happen to do these now 4 times a year because we can. And the folks that we work with electronically do it. So it's great. So we're recapturing gains more and more quickly. Whenever you rebalance, it gives you an opportunity, I think, to also be a little bit more tactical with your portfolio, which means if I have a base consideration of configuration of stock to bonds to cash, does it make sense to add emphasis in any particular area? Maybe. Maybe AI, maybe oil and gas, maybe tech in general. Maybe adding a little emphasis there, and then maybe over time rebalancing that, rotating those, and that's a strategy that can be used to do that. So I'm not going to sing for you. I know you want me to, but I'm not going to sing the gambler song. You have to know when to walk away. You have to know when to run. You never count your money while you're sitting at the table, right? But as an investor, you have to. You need to capture gains so that they become real. And in many cases, capturing gains also puts you in a position where what you can do is you can use this cash to deal with objectives, whether it's income flow, whether it's projects, whether it's whatever. You know, it's logical, right? It's just logical. You're never a winner until you take your gains off the table and you win. Woo! Winning is fun. Fortunately, what happens is we're moving into more, let's use the term managed money concepts for our clients. A little higher level of institutional investing for them. And those managers are then what they're doing is they're also, they're bouncing every quarter, which is cool. I just received one. I'm listening from Nashville via Wi-Fi radio. I enjoy your show each Saturday. Well, thank you very much. Our Nashville texter. I love your town. Had an opportunity to visit there a couple of years ago. Took a walk through Vanderbilt. Just beautiful. I mean, just a beautiful area. And then obviously, Grand Ole Opry, all that kind of stuff. Great town. Love that for you. And thank you so much for tuning into the show. We really do. We really, truly do appreciate that. And, we have clients all over the country. Truthfully, why? Because they move. A lot of them are moving closer to their children. That's it. Or to their grandchildren. You hear that, Aaron? Grandchildren. Okay. I think that violated the 30-day rule, didn't it? It's okay. You'll get over it. It's so fun. So, while I'm in these coaching sessions with our existing clients, they're Jeff, hope you don't mind. You're not going to get mad. Grandchild number 2 came. Grandchild number 1 came. It's like, whee! Can't be happier for him. I'm just waiting my turn carefully. It's fine. they want to, and God willing, they can. Those are the two big things, right? And you know, as grandparents, that's the way it works. So, all good. Again, our phone lines are open. Love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from text line. Very cool. So David wrote me. He said, I'm currently working. However, my wife is not. Is she able to contribute to an IRA? And the answer is yes. You can contribute. It's called a spousal IRA. The only limitation there is that the IRA limits and contributions based on her age. If she's over 50, she can do the $1,000 catch-up contribution. But also is based upon your family income. There are income limitations. I think it's like 185 to 190 joint, married filing jointly. If you're over that limit, you can't make a contribution to an IRA, even if for someone that isn't working, even if you are. So you need to talk to your CPA, or frankly, you know what, go to the internet. Or give us a call, 314-863-0008. We would love to answer that question for you. Love to help. New text that I received, can you borrow money from your IRA and then pay it back later? Well, categorically, you cannot make a loan from an IRA. Ever. Never. You can make a distribution. We know that if it's from a traditional IRA, it's a taxable distribution. If it's from a Roth IRA, it's a non-taxable distribution. One time per year, you can withdraw money from all of your IRAs, just one time, and send the money back. You have to do it within 60 days. That's what we call the 60-day rule. There was a situation several years ago where the IRS figured out that people were like borrowing from, they're almost using their IRAs as short-term borrowing instruments. They would borrow money out of one, wait 60 days, put it back in, borrow money from another one, wait 60 days, put it back in. Can't do that. You can borrow, you can withdraw money as you want, but you can only put money back one time per year. So good to know. Really good question, and that's a little different than a 401k because with a 401k you can borrow up to 50% of your account value to or a lesser of $50,000. And the way you pay that back is you can certainly cut them a check, but generally what most folks do is they take it out through payroll deduction. It has to be repaid within 5 years. If that isn't done, then you pick it up as ordinary income. That's the way it works. And so many folks, and we have to deal with on occasion, have made 401k loans, and they're getting ready to retire, and the answer is, well, what do I do with the loan? Well, either we put the money back so that you don't have a distribution, or guess what? You got to pick it up as a distribution when you roll out. And you can't leave it there because if you're not actively participating in the plan, they can't repay the loan. So it's a default situation that occurs. 401k plan is probably the last place that you want to make a loan from. A, it's a short-term loan, so you got to pay back. B, you're paying interest. And C, what happens is if you don't pay it back, you got a taxable distribution. There are certainly other places or means to borrow money that can be more efficient for you, and in many cases have a lower interest rate. One might be, let's say, as an example, a home equity line of credit, where you have a 10-year amortization. Well, that's obviously less than 5, which is what a 401k loan is. You might be able to, God knows if you want to, depending on when you finance it, but you could always refinance a primary mortgage. In many cases, that can be 15 to 30-year amortization, lower payment. Interest is deductible. 401k loan isn't. And that's not a bad deal. So, depending on your circumstances, it's always good to get a second opinion if you're getting ready to make these transactions. The other place you could go, I was just thinking, is life insurance. You have a cash value life insurance policy. Great idea. Borrow the money from there. You never have to repay it. You just pay loan interest on that loan. That's cool. If you die, the death benefit, the amount of the loan reduces the death benefit dollar for dollar. Works out okay. You can't let the policy lapse, because if you do, if you pulled out more money than you paid in premiums, then guess what? You've got a taxable event. But this could certainly be another short-term source. And interestingly, you know, many of you folks know that I started to work, I started my career in the life insurance business with my father. And the cash value life insurance policies that several of his business owners owned, they used to continue to finance their businesses. They put the money in, they would pull out, borrow, repay the loan. They would assign that money, those contracts, also to the bank as collateral against those loans. And so those contracts became very valuable for them in terms of their long-term planning. So they can certainly also be a source of revenue. And then, of course, Aaron has the Bank of Mom, and, you know, that's you don't get better than that. But everybody doesn't have that borrowing facility. So very good question. Again, borrowing from an IRA, categorically, sorry, you cannot do that. We're going to take our second break of the hour, our last break of the hour, actually. When we get back, we'll be here to answer your questions and your phone calls, 314-931-5877 or 841-84126 from the text line. Don't touch that dial. I'll be right back with some more Straight Talk on Retirement after these messages.
When my daughter gets a cold, I have a secret weapon. Dayquil Kids Berry from Vicks. Dayquil Kids is specially formulated to treat kids' most bothersome cold and cough symptoms quickly. And the best part is that Dayquil Kids Berry tastes really great. Aren't you supposed to be resting? Maybe.
Dayquil Kids Berry. The Kids Berrylicious daytime congestion, coughing, stuffy head, stuffy nose, just for kids. Medicine. Safe for kids 6 years plus.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Dr. Joseph Molesky here with STL Medical Weight Loss. Are you frustrated in not getting the results you desire in your weight loss program? We have the difference. It's the Dr. Joe difference. We provide highly effective injectable weight loss peptides delivered to your door that work in your gut, liver, and pancreas to get down the weight. You're going to see in the first 90 days 15 to 30 pound weight loss. Book an appointment at stlmedweightloss.com. Call us at 636-628-6604. We're going to change your life in less than 90 days.
Global digital consultancy Proficient is growing fast and giving back to their hometown St. Louis bigger than ever before. Join Proficient this holiday season as they partner with KTRS at Proficient's Light Up Glennon events to bring song, light, and joy to the brave and inspiring patients in Cardinal Glennon's care. Join us on the evenings of December 4th and December 18th and light up the night and your spirit with Proficient, KTRS, and some incredible kids.
Veterans Day is special at KTRS. Wednesday, November 11th, Heidi and Josh will be live at A. Mrazek Moving Systems on Leffingwell in Kirkwood from 3 to 6. You'll get all the entertainment and conversation you expect with news, traffic, and weather for the ride home. And if moving is in your future, you'll learn why A. Mrazek Moving Systems is who you should trust. Heidi and Josh, live from A. Mrazek Moving Systems, Wednesday from 3 to 6. It's part of our Veterans Day activities on the Big 550 KTRS.
Martin Kilcoyne for AAA Home Services. They are a proud sponsor of Mizzou Hoops. And for over 50 years, AAA Home Services has been a leader in selling and servicing American Standard heating and air conditioning. Also experts in plumbing, appliance repair, and electrical needs. Now is a great time to get that furnace checked by the experts for only $89. Call AAA at 636-397-3200. Open 6 days a week. Online at AAASTL.com. Call AAA. We're on our way. Let's go Tigers.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
9:45 here on the Big 550 KTRS Talk Radio St. Louis. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach, back with some more Straight Talk on Retirement, answering your questions in text. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. I do have a couple of text message questions, but before I do that, I want to remind everybody, as if you don't need it, we're in open enrollment. Medicare, who's the number one producers in the state of Missouri? That's right, Erin, my daughter. She does it. And Frank, our Medicare coach. You have a plan, you need to have it checked out, you're getting ready to head into Medicare. You need help putting this together. We love to do that. We're helping hundreds, literally hundreds of people every year doing this, and they're all listeners who are just like you. Easy to do. Give us a call, 314-863-0008. Go to our website, jblfinancial.com. Click on that Contact Us section. Send Aaron an email, aaron@jblfinancial.com, and we'll get you on the schedule. You know, we only got about 3 weeks left for open enrollment. New plans, good stuff. Take advantage of it. It's free. It's for you, which is great. Question, where are your helpers today? Well, I don't want any video, but I know they're at home. And they're recovering from their wedding. And hopefully, you know, I don't know. I don't know if I get in trouble with my wife or say, Grandpa time. Grandma time as well. Who knows? But they'll be back next week. We have a mortgage balance of $120,000 at 3% interest. Does it make sense to use our required minimum distributions to pay down that or not? The answer is yes, of course it does. It always makes sense because as you're paying down your mortgage, you're reducing the amount of interest that you owe. 3% is great, but the truth is, if you keep paying it down, woohoo, you'll get to a point, as we know, because we know that mortgages front-end load interest, and as you pay it down, the back end, you have less and less and more interest and more principal. So if you don't need the money for other purposes, that's a great idea. I salute you. Kudos, which is great. Getting down to the last couple of minutes of this hour, we do have a couple of more questions. I'm asked, are there any penalties for rolling over my 401k into a Roth IRA? The only penalty is the spanking you're going to feel from Uncle Sam from the taxes that you pay. Because moving from a 401k, traditional 401k, into a Roth means that you're paying taxes on the entire distribution. This could be painful. And one of the reasons that it could be painful is that if you are retiring during the year and you were working before that, woohoo, you got big taxes to pay, baby, because you're paying taxes on top of the ordinary income you already received. Might not make a lot of sense. If you're over 65 and you're Medicare eligible, it definitely might not make sense because if this conversion is large, it can increase your Medicare Part B premiums a year from now for the next 2 years. Most cases, the next tier is double what the base tier is. So, no, Nana, don't do that. There are no tax penalties, but it sure feels like it when you're doing that. So I would certainly say chill if, in fact, you can, which is a good thing to ask, and I do appreciate that. What Another question is, what safety protocols are in place to protect my money from theft if we're invested with your company? Well, first things first, you never actually literally invest with JBL Financial. You actually invest through a custodian. And you've heard them before, Charles Schwab, Fidelity, Stifel Nicholas, etc. LPL has their own, they have their own custodian. It's a commercial bank. So the money's protected from Aaron and I. We don't actually touch it. But when it comes to protocols, and this is a good question, we don't receive orders by mail. Somebody writes and says, hey, Jeff, I want to sell this, or I need this amount of money. We call you. We're required to call you first to verify that you want this transaction, because the truth is many people their emails are getting hacked these days. And the worst part is that we've seen this, where hackers have gotten in the middle of conversations we even have with clients on emails. But again, we stick with the protocol. Nothing happens till we physically verify that person, their voice, etc. And one of the things that we also are very careful in watching, and by the way, so is our custodian, is the account that money is being sent to, because we only send money to an account to which you've given us a copy of a check for. We have the routing number for, or to your home address. We are not, other than charitable purposes, we are not permitted to send money to third parties unless you sign in blood. And that's a real safety. That's a real safety and fraud protocol. So, and all the broker dealers do that. So I think that would be something that you should feel, comfortable about. The other thing is that every one of your accounts that you do have does have like what we call SIPC insurance, which is similar to FDIC. It protects against fraud on these accounts, and you're covered up to $3 million per account. So that's good stuff to know, and we hope that answers your question. Love the text line's getting hot today. I love that. Do I need a trust? Great question. I don't know. My attorney, who I lean on, not only for my personal business, but also we send clients to him, said to me famously, Jeff, you don't need a trust if you trust the beneficiaries. So the people you're leaving money to, if you trust them to get money in a lump sum, have access unfettered to that money at the time of your death, then you don't need a trust. A trust is really a vehicle to hold that money, create a buffer at death for folks that you don't trust. And I don't mean by not only trust, but let's just assume as an example that you have a child maybe that had an issue with drugs or the law. Or you have a grandchild that has special needs, or a child that has special needs, that you need money, assets to be held, not in their custody. Not because not only do you don't trust them, but they may be eligible for state aid because of their condition. And they become disqualified if they have control of the assets. Well, guess what? You don't want to do that. So those would be reasons that you would have a trust. Again, if you do trust your beneficiaries to manage the money that they receive, you don't think to them they're going to act like it's lotto. And I would tell you that in general, we don't see that with beneficiaries, no matter what their parents think about them. They typically look at this as, this is found money. This was mom and dad's money. They took their lifetimes to build this. I have an opportunity to actually create a base of wealth, or the beginnings of a base of wealth for me via mom and dad or Uncle Joe or brother, sister, whoever it might have been. And we find that most folks are prudent about that. They do. They're able to, as I like to say, reduce the financial temperature on their finances sometimes. They're able to make contributions or maximize the contributions to retirement accounts, which they couldn't do because they're raising children. Or they have family obligations. They've extended themselves where they need to deal with repayments. Or maybe to pay off debt. Or maybe to have a little more fun with their lives. Whatever it might be. Beneficiaries tend to be very prudent with money because they realize it wasn't theirs. And unfortunately, not being theirs means it can slip through your fingers real easy. And so Aaron and I like to visit with folks, talk to them about what their options, certainly review what the tax implications are. And then really what we love to do is to create a game plan for them to move on. And most of these folks are, sometimes they're 30s, sometimes they're 40s, sometimes they're 50s. Maybe they're not ideal clients for us because of their age, but the fact is they eventually will be. And mom and dad cared about them, and frankly, they trusted us enough to do that. And most of them look at us and say, you know what, mom and dad trusted you. Why don't we'll trust you until we don't. Now we're actually in a situation where we have an advisor, we have advice, and they can hopefully enrich their lives as much as we can assist them in doing that. We love to do that. We love to be invited on the journey. I mean, it's truly fun, and it is an honor and a privilege to help people plan the rest of their lives as much as they'll permit us to. So we really love to do that, and that was really a fabulous question. And we do appreciate those. And, again, if you do have a question, you can always send us an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, or aaron@jblfinancial.com. Medicare question, frank@jblfinancial.com. Or you can go to our website, jblfinancial.com, click on the Contact Us section, write us a note, write us a treatise, write us a couple of words. We don't care. We promise to answer it within 24 hours. We always do. We do because Erin gets all of them. She's a rock star when it comes to getting back to folks. She prides herself in doing it, and frankly, we get great reviews. But that's what service is about. We're trying to get people ask us questions. We're trying to get them the answers. We obviously love to do it on the air. It's a lot of fun. We do have a couple minutes left. Our phone lines are open, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from text line, which is cool. So you receive a question. What documents do you request to have available to review during a coaching session? How often, this is a great one because it's like a multiple one. How often do you visit with clients each year, and is there a separate fee for those visits? Well, first thing is that we like to see clients at least 2 times a year, hopefully by phone, sometimes 4 times, and really when they need us because we're on the payroll. They pay us a fee for the assets that we manage, small percentage, 1% per year, and we don't charge separately for our visits, fees for visits, that's all included, for our newsletter, for all the time that we spend with them, for creating their game plan. There's no charge for that. That when you hire us and we manage money for you, that's how you pay us, and that's easy. In terms of the documents, we like to receive a copy of your most recent filed tax return so we can understand your income and your sources. We also like to receive a copy, if you do have one, of a will or trust document if you have them. We like to review those to make sure they're up to date and to find out who your beneficiaries are and also see what your flow pattern is. And in many cases, we're finding out, guess what? They're old. They haven't been updated. They haven't been reviewed. And you know what? Maybe we do want to change some of those durable powers of attorney, the folks that we're asking to take charge, or even our medical directives. That's a good thing to do. We also like to receive copies of your investment statements, whether they're from retirement plan accounts and also non-retirement plan accounts. We want to see them because we want to take a look at what you're buying. What is the synergy between them? Is there synergy there? And then number 2, so that we can identify areas of duplication and then obviously be in a position to make good recommendations for you, which is great. Also, any other documents you might have. If you have annuity contracts, if you have life insurance policies, if you have loan documents, if there's anything else significant you feel like we ought to be looking at, we want to see that in a coaching session. It's fun. It's free. It's at our offices. It generally runs about 60 minutes with Aaron, about 75 with me because I always have to tell Aaron stories. Easy to do, 314-863-0008 or send us an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com. See you next week.
The opinions voiced voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Be listening next week at 9 for more Straight Talk